The engine of our beat-up Jeep hummed steadily as Jake and I barreled down the coastal highway, the salty breeze whipping through the open windows like a promise of freedom. We'd been roommates for 2 years at UCLA, him the star quarterback with a string of girlfriends, me the quiet film major hiding my crush behind friendly banter. But when the motel clerk in Santa Barbara shrugged and said, "Only one room left with a king bed," I felt my heart slam against my ribs, wondering if this summer road trip would unravel everything I'd kept buried. That first night, after a day of hiking cliffs and devouring fish tacos, we collapsed onto the bed, the space between us feeling both vast and non-existent. Jake laughed it off, stripping down to his boxers with the ease of someone who'd shared locker rooms his whole life. "No big deal, Zeno," he said, punching my arm lightly. "We're bros, right? Just don't hog the covers." I nodded, forcing a grin. But as the room grew dark and his steady breathing filled the silence, I lay awake, hyper-aware of his warmth inches away, my mind racing with forbidden thoughts I'd never voiced. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the thin curtains, and Jake woke up stretching like a cat, his arm accidentally brushing mine. He didn't pull away immediately, and for a split second, his eyes met mine with a curiosity I'd never seen before. We packed up quickly, hitting the road toward Big Sur, blasting classic rock to drown out the awkwardness. But as the days blurred into a rhythm of scenic drives and late-night talks by campfires, the shared beds became routine, motels, Airbnbs, even a tent under the stars when we rough it in Yosemite. Jake opened up more than ever, confessing how his conservative family back in Texas expected him to settle down with a nice girl after graduation, maybe join his dad's law firm. "They'd freak if I deviated from the script," he admitted one evening, as we shared a bottle of cheap wine overlooking the Pacific. I listened, my own secrets bubbling under the surface. How I'd come out to a few friends but never to him, fearing it'd shatter our easy friendship. What if the script's wrong? I ventured cautiously. He looked at me then, really looked, and the air thickened with unspoken questions. By the time we reached San Francisco, the tension was palpable. We checked into a quirky hostel in the Castro district, famous for its vibrant LGBT scene, and the single bed felt like a challenge. That night, after wandering rainbow-flagged streets and laughing at drag shows, Jake turned to me in the dim light. "Zeno, have you ever felt something for a guy?" His voice was hesitant, vulnerable. My pulse thundered. "Yeah," I whispered. "I have." He didn't recoil. Instead, he shifted closer, his hand grazing my shoulder. It wasn't a kiss. Not yet. Just a moment of raw honesty that cracked open the facade we'd both maintained. The city buzzed around us the next day, but inside, a storm brewed. We explored Golden Gate Park, picnicking under eucalyptus trees, and Jake seemed distant, wrestling with his thoughts. "My buddies back home would call this weird," he muttered as we watched couples. Straight, gay, everything in between, stroll hand in hand. I wanted to reassure him, but fear held me back. That evening, in the shared bed, he faced me directly. "What if I'm not as straight as I thought?" The words hung heavy, and I reached out, our fingers intertwining tentatively. It was electric, innocent, but loaded with potential conflict. As we drove north toward Oregon, the landscape grew wilder, mirroring the turmoil inside the Jeep. Jake's phone buzzed incessantly, texts from his ex-girlfriend, Emily, wondering when he'd be back, reminders from his mom about family values. He ignored them at first, but guilt crept in. "This trip's messing with my head," he confessed during a hike in Redwood National Park. "You're my best friend, Zeno, but it's more, isn't it?" I nodded, my heart aching. "It could be if we let it." That night, in a rustic cabin with one bed overlooking ancient trees, we talked until dawn. Jake shared stories of high school crushes he'd dismissed as guy stuff, how societal expectations had boxed him in. I opened up about my own struggles. Bullying in middle school, the isolation of hiding who I was. Our conversation wove through laughter and tears, drawing us closer. But as morning broke, doubt shadowed his eyes. "What if this ruins everything?" he asked. I had no answer, only the hope that our connection was worth the risk. Crossing into Washington, The rain started, matching the growing storm. We stopped in Seattle, where the urban energy amplified our inner conflicts. Jake met up with an old football buddy, Mark, who ribbed him about bro trips and asked about girls. I watched from afar, jealousy twisting in my gut as Jake laughed along, reverting to his straight guy persona. Later, in our hotel bed, he apologized. I panicked, he said. Mark's like my family, traditional, you know? I understood, but it hurt, highlighting the societal chasms we navigated. The next day, exploring Pike Place Market, Jake bought me a coffee, his hand lingering on mine. I'm trying Zeno, he murmured. But tension escalated when his phone rang. His dad, grilling him about future plans. Jake mentioned our trip vaguely, omitting details, and hung up frustrated. They'd disown me if they knew, he said bitterly. I pulled him into a quiet alley, our foreheads touching. You don't have to choose yet, I whispered, but deep down I feared he might. As we ventured deeper into the Pacific Northwest, the shared beds became both sanctuary and battlefield. In a cozy B&B in Portland, surrounded by hipster vibes and progressive streets, Jake seemed freer. We wandered bookstores and food trucks, his arm brushing mine more often, deliberate now. That night, he turned to me in the darkness. Zeno, I think I like this, us. His voice cracked with emotion, and we held each other. No more than that, but it felt monumental. My heart soared, yet worry gnawed. Was this real, or just vacation escapism? The road twisted toward the Olympic Peninsula, where misty forests and rugged beaches isolated us from the world. Jake's mood swung. One moment affectionate, the next withdrawn. During a beach walk at sunset, he stopped abruptly. What if I'm bi, or gay? How do I even know? I shared my own journey, questioning, experimenting in college shadows. It's okay to explore, I said, but his phone interrupted again. Emily, persistent, sensing something off. He answered, his tone forced casual, and I walked away, heart heavy with the reality of his divided life. That evening, in a tent pitched by the ocean, waves crashing like accusations, Jake broke down. I feel like I'm betraying everyone. My family, my team, even myself. Tears glistened in his eyes, and I comforted him. Our embrace a fragile bridge over turbulent waters. We talked about societal pressures, the macho culture of sports, the religious upbringing that labeled love like ours as sin. It's not fair, he whispered. Why can't I just be? I had no easy answers, only my presence, but it deepened our bond amid the conflict. Pushing onward to Vancouver, staying in the U.S., we looped back south through Idaho, the landscape shifting to vast plains that mirrored Jake's internal expanse. In Boise, we crashed at a motel, the king bed now a symbol of our evolving intimacy. Jake researched online discreetly, reading about coming-out stories, bisexuality forums. Some guys go through this, he said, showing me articles. But doubt crept in. What if it's just you? A phase? His words stung, revealing the precariousness of our situation. A heated argument erupted that night. You think this is easy for me? I snapped, frustration boiling over. Hiding my feelings for years. Watching you with girls? Jake recoiled, then softened. I'm scared, Zeno. My whole life is built on being the straight golden boy. We reconciled in silence, holding hands until sleep came, but the rift lingered, a crack in our foundation. As we drove through Utah's Red Rock Canyons, the heat amplified tensions. Zion National Park's trails tested us physically and emotionally. Hiking Angel's Landing, Jake gripped my hand on the narrow path, a metaphor for our journey. At the summit, overlooking vast vistas, he confessed, I don't want to lose this, you. But descending, his phone buzzed with a family group chat. Plans for a homecoming barbecue, expectations mounting. That night in a lodge bed, Jake's restlessness kept us awake. If we pursue this, it'll cause chaos, he said. My dad donated to anti-gay causes. My mom quotes the Bible. I shared my own family scars, acceptance from some, rejection from others. Love shouldn't be a battle, I argued. But societal shadows loomed, fueling debates that night. Nature versus nurture, choice versus identity. Jake's vulnerability shone, but so did his fear. Entering Arizona, the Grand Canyon's immensity dwarfed our problems, yet amplified them. We stood at the rim at dawn, arms around each other. "This feels right," Jake murmured. But lunch with tourists, a family from Texas, chatting football, reminded him of home. He distanced himself subtly, and hurt flared in me. "Are you ashamed?" I asked later. "Not of you," he replied. "Of what it means." In a Canyon View hotel, the shared bed became confessional. Jake admitted experimenting in his mind, questioning labels. Society says straight or gay, no in between. We discussed bi-erasure, the pressure to conform. Emotions peaked. Tears flowed. "I care about you, Zeno, deeply." It was a turning point, but precarious as external worlds encroached. Winding through New Mexico's deserts, the isolation forced introspection. Jake grew quieter, processing. In Santa Fe, amid adobe art galleries, we explored, his hand in mine briefly in a crowded market. A bold step. But that night, in the bed, he pulled away. "What if this destroys my career?" Football scouts, endorsements, they expect a certain image. I empathized, sharing stories about athletes facing backlash. "Progress is slow," I said, "but hiding eats you alive." Conflict escalated when Jake's brother called, probing about the trip. Jake lied smoothly, "Just bro time." Hanging up, guilt etched his face. "I'm a hypocrite," he admitted. We argued fiercely, me pushing for authenticity, him defending caution. "You don't get it. My family's everything." "Hurt," I retorted. "And I'm nothing?" Reconciliation came slowly, in whispered apologies, but the divide widened. Heading to Colorado's Rockies, snowy peaks contrasted our heated emotions. In Denver, we attended a pride event anonymously, Jake wide-eyed at the acceptance. "This exists," he marveled. Dancing in the crowd, he kissed my cheek impulsively. Our first public affection. Euphoria surged, but back in the hotel bed, reality crashed. "If word got out," he trailed. A major clash unfolded during a mountain hike. Jake vented societal frustrations. "Why does love have to be political?" I countered with personal anecdotes. Friends disowned, hate crimes in news. "Because ignorance breeds hate." Tempers flared, we shouted about privilege, identity. Exhausted, we collapsed in the tent, silence heavy. Eventually, Jake reached out. "I don't want to fight this, you." It mended, but scars remained. In Kansas Plains, flatness echoed Jake's flattening resolve. Phone calls home increased, his mom's voice audible, urging normalcy. "Find a nice girl," she said. Jake's responses evasive, but influence evident. In a motel bed, he confessed, "I'm torn." I pleaded, "Choose happiness." But doubt seeded. Was I pushing too hard? Oklahoma's humidity mirrored our sticky situation. Tulsa's conservative vibe heightened Jake's anxiety. We avoided PDA, but tension built. That night, Jake dreamed aloud of futures. One traditional, one with me. Both scare me. Discussions turned philosophical, free will versus conditioning. Emotions raw, we clung together, love budding amid chaos. Texas loomed, Jake's home state, amplifying fears. Crossing the border, he tensed. In Dallas, staying with a neutral friend, the shared couch, no bed, felt distant. Jake's demeanor shifted, more guarded. "Can't risk here," he said. "Hurt." I nodded, but resentment brewed. Arguments resurfaced. Are we real or fantasy? In a rare private moment, Jake broke. "I love you, Zeno, but society." Tears mixed with resolve. "I need time." It was progress, yet painful, highlighting the societal barriers we battled. As we approached Austin, Jake's hometown pull intensified. We detoured to avoid family, but proximity stirred ghosts. In a hip hotel, the king bed mocked us. Jake paced, conflicted. "If I come out, it'll shatter them." I shared resources, support groups, therapy. "Love wins," I urged, but he countered. "At what cost?" Debates raged. Individual versus collective good. A turning point came at a local bar. Overhearing homophobic slurs, Jake bristled, defending subtly. Later, in bed, empowered. That was wrong. It sparked hope, but calls home doused it. His dad ranted about liberal agendas. Jake hung up shaken. See? This is my world. Driving south to Houston, humidity cloaked us like secrets. Jake researched more, finding stories of athletes coming out successfully. Maybe possible, he mused. But family texts pressured. Reunion imminent. In a beachside motel, waves lulling, we shared dreams. A life together, I whispered. Jake nodded, but eyes distant. Crisis hit in Galveston. Jake's ex, Emily, showed up unexpectedly, tracked via social media. Confrontation ensued. Who's he? She demanded. Jake stammered. Roommate. Hurt flashed in her eyes. She left angry. In the bed, Jake crumbled. I hurt her, because of us. Guilt consumed him. I consoled, but fault lines deepened. Heading west to New Mexico again, no looping back. Tensions peaked. Jake questioned everything. Am I gay? Bi? Confused. I supported exploration, but impatience grew. Arguments turned personal. You're stringing me along. He fired back. You're pressuring. Reconciliation in embraces, but fragility evident. In Arizona's heat, revisiting the canyon, symbolism struck. We're at the edge, Jake said. At sunset he kissed me. First real kiss, tender, charged. Euphoria but followed by panic. What now? Phone rang. Family demanding return. I can't face them like this. California beckoned, home stretch. In Death Valley's extremes, metaphors abounded. Jake's resolve wavered. One moment committed, next retreating. In a sparse motel, bed shared in silence. I need to decide, he vowed. Nearing Los Angeles, the familiar skyline loomed like judgment. Jake's silence grew. I feared regression. In a roadside diner, he confessed, this trip changed me. You changed me. But home pressures mounted, job offers, family expectations. Can we make this work? He asked. I affirmed, but doubt lingered. Back at UCLA dorms, the shared room felt charged. No more vacation bubble. Reality intruded. Jake's family visited unexpectedly, scrutinizing. He introduced me as roommate. Sting sharp. Later, alone, apologies flowed. I'm not ready. Heartbreak hit. Tears shared. But I feel it, he insisted. Weeks blurred. Jake sought therapy, explored identity discreetly. We navigated secretly. Stolen moments, deep talks. Society's weight pressed. Campus rumors, family probes. Conflicts arose. Jake attending straight events, me feeling sidelined. Patience, he pleaded, but patience frayed. Climax came at a party. Overhearing slurs, Jake defended openly. Love is love. Pride swelled in me. Later, in our bed, dorm bunks pushed together, he whispered, I'm bi, and I choose you. Joy but challenges remained. Coming out to family, facing backlash. Months later, Jake told his parents. Chaos ensued, arguments, tears, temporary estrangement. Society's divides evident. Support from some, rejection from others. We weathered, bonds strengthening amid storms. In the end, our love endured, a testament to resilience. But was it right for Jake to upend his life for feelings sparked in shared summer sheets, defying societal norms?